Today, we're talking about how to buy your next home without being forced to move twice or to move your stuff into a storage unit for 3 months while you find a house. So here's the problem. Let's say you have a great starter home in either LA or Orange County, and you put it on the market and bam, you sold it for record price. Woohoo! Congratulations. Now, the question is where are you going to sleep in 30 days? Because in this spring market, the biggest mistake that people make isn't the price they pay, it's the timeline they didn't plan for.
yeah, actually, it's a problem because yes, you can sell your entry level home and get multiple offers. We're back in that market again. We're at the lower price points, at the entry level price points. There are plenty of buyers out there.
Hey, Frank, have you ever run into this problem where you had somebody whose house flew off the market and then they couldn't find a place to go?
But the problem is, okay, where do I move once I sell? And that's the challenge that we're facing. And like I said, as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking, well, what is the solution? I mean, in this market, we've got multiple homeowners, in a large percentage of those baby boomers that have the golden handcuffs of 3% of a 3% mortgage that don't want to give that up. And
Oh,
who
heck
would
no. I don't want to give up my 3% mortgage. Why would anybody want to do that, Frank? That's
that
crazy talk.
right? And that's a problem because if you were to sell today and give up your 3% mortgage, you're literally pretty much doubling your interest rate. So that's a huge ask for somebody who, again, if we're talking about baby boomers at least, don't really have to sell. I mean, they would like to sell. They'd like to sell to move to something that is lower maintenance. A lot of the reasons are just convenience. And do you give up that 3% rate for convenience?
And so here's some quick math for you because I'm not a numbers guy, not like you, but I ran some quick math. So if you net about 500K profit on your current home, right? Because we know that about 80% of homeowners here in California have over 50% equity. So let's say average home $1 million in LA and Orange County, you net 500K profit, right? And your current mortgage is at 3.5%. Your mortgage payment's roughly 2,200 bucks a month, right? And you
Okay.
take that 500K and you invest it into another home and you get a 6.5% mortgage, your mortgage payment then goes up to $3,300 a month, right? $3,100 a month, about a $915 difference. So you have to ask yourself, is getting that extra bedroom or a little bit bigger lot or the 3 car garage instead of a 2 car garage worth the effort?
Yes, and I get that. I get that. Again, you've got a growing family that is ready to sell their starter home and move into something bigger. And so that's a good reason to move. But what about the people that have, yeah, they've got a great amount of equity, but the reason for them to move is convenience, is maybe a slightly smaller home, something lower maintenance. Will they give up that 3% interest rate? And it's obvious they're not, because we're in that middle market, meaning, something slightly below a million to a little above a million. The inventory still hasn't really improved. So then what? What do we do with
Well,
our
but
our
I think it's going to. I think as interest rates creep down, we're going to see more and more people doing that, right? I think we're going to see both the older crowd moving into smaller homes, right? They're going to do an equity transfer from and take their 500 or 800K equity and transfer it into something, more easily maintained, single story, right? We don't need the big 2 story home anymore because we're empty nesters, right? Um, and I think we're going to see some of those people who are moving up. I think we're going to at the same time see some of those people being willing to absorb the extra hit on their mortgage just to get the bigger home. So I think we're going to see growth in both areas as interest rates creep down. I mean, Fannie Mae this morning, I read something that Fannie Mae is predicting that by the end of the year, interest rates will be in the high fives at about 5.7%.
again, you're still at almost 6%, and the average seller right now that refied back during COVID or slightly after that locked in something in the low threes, they're still doubling that interest rate. So it's got to be, they have to get a lot more to be willing to step down. And the example that you're using is buying up. Buy a person, yeah, they've got a reason to move. They've got a reason. There's enough motivation for them to want to move up and give up that 3% interest rate.
Well, and
But
I
for
think
some,
it's where you're willing to move to, Frank. I think one of the things that's largely overlooked, right, is if for whatever reason you no longer have to live in LA or Orange County and you could make a move to, let's say, the Inland Empire. I think that the Inland Empire market is still recovering from the correction that we've gone through. And I think LA and Orange County have recovered significantly more and significantly faster, as they are wont to do. We always see that in a market correction, that LA and Orange County recover first, followed by the rest of the markets in Southern California. So, that being said, I think that because we're in this recovery period and LA and Orange County are coming out of it a lot faster, that if you're thinking of doing it and you're willing to move, let's say somewhere out to the Inland Empire, right? I think it's a great time to get a great deal on a home out there because I tell my buyers all the time, I say, look, you get one opportunity to get a good purchase price. Through the years of ownership of your home, you're going to get multiple opportunities to refi into a different interest rate, but you're only going to get one shot at a good purchase price.
a great point is refinancing. Yeah, you could take whatever rate you get today, and we know the rates are going to come down. They will. Then the question is, how long will that take? And so it takes 2, 3 years. But yes, you'll eventually be able to get that lower rate. But you do bring up an interesting point that the sellers that I'm seeing sell and willing to give up that 3% rate are doing exactly what you said, changing counties and moving to a in the example you gave, a more affordable county, or moving out of state.
Or moving out of state.
And
I'm dual licensed. I'm licensed in Arizona too. And right now, man, it's a buyer's market in Arizona in the greater Phoenix area. Boy, you can get a deal, baby. There's some beautiful homes out there. If you want to go to the greater Phoenix area, you call me because I know the inventory there and you can get a smoking deal. I promise you.
all right, we'll let you shamelessly plug your Arizona license as well.
Shame.
So
Shame is for others.
so yeah, those are the people that are moving right now. But I think that until we get rates, it has to be below high fives. I mean, we literally have to be low fives, as close to four as possible, before everybody else that's locked in at 3% is going to finally say, okay, now I'll move. Now I'll move into something a little bit smaller because we're empty nesters. I'm willing to give up my interest rate. But until that happens, I still think that we're going to be looking at a tight inventory market, because the only people that are willing to give up their home and give up that interest rate are those people that are moving out of county, or even more importantly, out of state.
so
That's where
so
that's
let's
where the numbers make sense.
let's switch gears for a second because I want to talk about this. So if you are making that move, what are a couple of strategies that you can employ with your professional agent that you can use if you put your starter home on the market, you've got 6 offers in the first week, right? You're opening escrow on it. What are some things that you can do to protect yourself? And the first one I'm going to say is make sure you're doing a sale contingency, right? Give yourself 30, 60, or 90 days to identify your replacement property while you're in escrow. That makes you a stronger buyer, and it allows you to back out of the deal if you can't find the right home for you.
That's definitely an option. I came across actually a really interesting loan that we can discuss further, maybe on a different episode.
But like a bridge loan,
Oh, well, no, it's actually not a bridge loan. It's something along those lines. Basically, here's how it works. So you go to a lender, and the lender actually will buy that property for you. So in other words, you haven't even listed your home on the market. Or let's say you are listed, it's going to sell quickly. But before you even accept offers, you go and you find the property you want to buy. That lender will buy that property for you and then resell it to you later. And so you could literally
at
buy
at a slight profit.
at a slight profit. Yeah, I think I can't remember how much it is, but they charge, I think it's like a 2.5 to 3% service fee. So yeah, of course, there's a
Okay.
cost involved. But here's the thing. You could buy your next home first through that lender. Lender buys it, they own it, they will resell it to you. And now you've got, I think it's up to 90 days to sell your your starter home, your home. And you know that that home is going to sell in under 90 days. So it puts you in the driver's seat because with this sort of financing, there you don't have to even discuss a contingency. You go, the lender buys the property for you. Of course, you have to be pre-approved through them so that they've already seen that you can qualify to buy that property from them. Then they resell it to you. They make a profit in doing that, but it's low. And then you sell your home and use the equity from that home to pay down the first loan that you already got when you purchase a property. So it's not as complicated as I think as it sounds, but it's an option where you're allowed to buy without a contingency and you buy first, sell later. So,
Okay.
and by the way, I get nothing out of this. It's a lender that I work with that I've known for years. His name is Phil Chenair. And if anyone wants to reach out to me to get his information, I can put you in touch with Phil, and Phil could explain this a lot better than I can. But it
Shameless
is a
plug for
solution.
Phil. I love it. I love it.
Shameless plug
We're
for
gonna
Phil,
call
yes,
this the Shameless Plug Podcast. I love
but
it.
I,
Other things you could do, right, is you could, if you don't want to do a contingent sale, because like Frank said, that makes you less strong, is you could do a seller rent back. Negotiate that. When you have six offers on the table and you're in the driver's seat for negotiating offers, right? Negotiate a 30 or 60-day rent back. So you already have the equity from your home in your pocket, um, and you're out buying your new home. Now, does that put a time pressure on you to find your new home? Absolutely. And I recommend for anybody selling and buying that you need to get out and start looking immediately, even if you're not ready to start making offers, because we got to make sure that you can find something that works for you before we even get to that point. I've sold too many homes for people who said, "Oh, we were in a time crunch and we bought this home and we hate it."
yeah. Yeah, and that's a great suggestion, by the way, Lucas, the seller rent back, because as a seller, you're in the driver's seat and you can ask for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months of rent back, and no buyer that's going to buy your home is going to say no.
Right?
So that's a
If
great
they're
option as
facing
well.
if they're facing a multiple offer situation and they're one of 10 or 15 or 20 offers or even 7 offers, and you say, "Hey, this is my deal. I need a 90-day rent back," right? The logical buyer who doesn't have to move is going to say yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's also a great option as well.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we got to wrap this up, Frank. Any other last tips and tricks on this besides Phil's number, which I'll get from you later?
No, no more shameless plugs on my part. Well, I'll save that
Okay.
for the next one.
No more shameless plugs on my heart. But now, if they want to get a hold of you, Frank, how do people get a hold of you? Because you seem like you
Uh,
know what you're talking about.
they can reach me at franklopezbroker.com.
Perfect. Thanks. And of course, me, Lucas at Sell My Home Real Estate or sellmyhomerealestate.com. We're easy to find. Hey, you guys, thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you like this, please remember, click like, share, tell all your friends. Even if you just want to point and laugh at us, at least subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next podcast.